Good afternoon. My name is Jérôme Delay, and I'm the head of the entertainment division at Reed Media. It is my privilege to welcome you to a highlight event at MIPTV. Today, we, in association with Variety, are presenting Variety's 2017 Achievement in International TV Award to an exceptional recipient, Gilles Pélisson, CEO of France's TF1. In his current position at TF1 for just over a year, Gilles has had a distinguished career in multiple areas of the TV and entertainment businesses. This includes being CEO of Euro Disney 20 years ago, heading Suez Telefónica's ST36, as well as France's largest cable company, News. At TF1, Gilles has led the effort to adapt and take a leadership position in the transformation of the television business. He has a lot to say, and we should not wait any longer. But before we introduce Gilles, let me welcome Henry Chu, international editor for Variety. Henry will lead Gilles in a wide-ranging and enlightening discussion. So please join me in welcoming Henry.
Thank you very much, Jérôme. I'm pleased to be here with you to present Variety's annual award for achievement in international television. There was a time not very long ago that the word international, at least from an American point of view, meant basically any single country that wasn't the United States. But in honoring Gilles and TF1 today, we're recognizing an important player in the television industry that has global ambitions and that has already gone about achieving some of those ambitions. So at home here in France, TF1 is by far the country's highest rated commercial network. In fact, by that measure, it's the most successful network in all of Europe. It was a pioneer in bringing American shows to primetime viewers here in France, and it's now linking up with other partners in Europe and elsewhere to expand its footprint around the world and to create content that crosses borders. Gilles has been behind TF1's drive to set its sights high and then to take up the challenges and the opportunities of the digital age. And so, for those reasons and many others, it's my great pleasure to present him with the Variety Achievement in International Television Award. So, would you please join Jérôme and me in welcoming Gilles Pélisson. Move forward. Congratulations, Gilles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Gilles. Very proud, to a country fellow man. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want me to say a few words or no? I don't have a mic. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we?
Yes. Over to the far side.
One, two, three. Yeah, I can speak. So
I think I can.
Maybe I should say one word to say thank you so much to Variety on behalf of all the people working at TF1 for so many years in content, production, partnership with international studios, local independent producers in France, but who have made the channel, what it is today and what you just mentioned. I think it's thanks to all these people that we are here. Today it's Ara Aprikian and his team who are leading the content. We have a TF1 studio, which is also here, highly represented, and the latest addition to the team has been, of course, Newen as a production house, an independent production house. So I'm very proud. And in the wisdom of Variety, you may know that this is exactly today the 30th anniversary of TF1 becoming a private company by the French government with the Bouygues Group. So it's a very special day for all of us.
Yes, we knew that, of course, right from the beginning. So that clip gave us a good idea of the various channels that you have as part of your multi-channel strategy and appealing to different segments of the population. And of course, your flagship core TF1 channel is highly successful, but I'm wondering from your perspective, whether you feel that the days of generalist free-to-air broadcasters are pretty much over and that a multi-channel strategy like this is pretty necessary, even for a successful company as TF1.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. We really want to keep the leadership of TF1 as it is a very unique concept in Europe. And especially the difference we have with the number 2 player makes us, in an outstanding position. So we want just to keep that kind of power going. The only question is just maybe we should fight the battle those days in a different way than we used to do 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was all about power and being on, the overall population. Today, we are much more focused on commercial targets. Mm-hmm. So we really are looking for performance on shows, except maybe for the 2, 1 o'clock and 8 o'clock news, which remain very large rendezvous for the French audience in terms of news broadcasting. But beyond that, it's just, making TF1 still the leader in this country and around the 21% audience in terms of market share. And then it's making the rest of the other chain that you briefly saw on the video with a personality, well-known animators, and content which people will go by, have rendezvous also, so that they know what's going on that channel, which is very difficult in such a wide landscape. So give them that opportunity and yet work as a group to have the content move around the channels whenever it is necessary. So therefore, amortizing some cost, right, and making it more efficient.
To get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that at least your projections at TF1 are that linear TV is still going to be a major force in France for years to come. And many of us, though, have been reading these obituaries for linear television for a few years now. To what degree do you feel that that's actually particular to the circumstances of France, where media use is a bit more conservative in terms of its adoption of various platforms? And to what extent also do you think that it might be not dead, but dying and aging because the audience is also aging with it?
I don't think it's dying. It's really a fact that it's consumed in a very different way. I look at my family. My daughter is 19 years old. She's watching television, except she's watching it on her PC or on mobile. So, but she's watching television. People are using replay. We have consumption today in fiction, French fiction, which is now reaching 15 to 20% of some of the best shows. So it's just a matter of not maybe making the fact that a general channel like us is going to gather on some very special event, like a soccer game, like political debate, like we did a couple of weeks ago. Most of the French population will be watching. Every night around 8 o'clock, you have about 23 million people watching primetime television in France. The average length of watching is about 3 hours and 44 minutes, so it's not really slowing down. Mm-hmm. The big difference is on the younger generation, which is watching less linear television, as you just said. And now in France, we are one of the first countries measuring 4 screens audience. And we can see that the younger audience is going now at 20 minutes per day on the other 3 screens. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really how do we accompany them? How do we make sure our content are now ubiquitous? They can be watched on every screen in a friendly way. Mm-hmm. So some content will go better than others, and make sure that we have all the right modes so that when you want to watch something on a different device, you have it and it's easily accessible.
Well, I know that you're trying to really take more leadership in terms of the various platforms, whether it's on demand, catch up, binge watching, et cetera. And this is how plenty of millennials, whether it's your daughter or my nephews and nieces, this is how they watch television and screened entertainment now, and usually not on a television that we're used to. But in terms of your strategy, is it just about taking already existing content that you've got on your channels and essentially transferring and dumping that onto other platforms? Or is it important now to come up with content, actual content that is aimed at this audience and specifically for non-linear television and on smaller screens?
Yeah, here too it's a little bit of both. I think there are some contents which are very easily watchable on, on a delinear way and a replay. And we see that for French fiction. We see that for some of the US series. We see that for some entertainment. And that's it. You barely watch a soccer game again once you know the result and, there is no interaction. Same thing for the news. The news forecast, basically people don't watch it again.
Right.
So we see that. And yet, as you said, what we really want is now to conceive most of our shows with the idea that when you will go on the web, on our portal, you will be given some additional content. Mm-hmm. So some making of, some things which will be different. You saw on TMC, Yann Barthès, which is one of the best French animators and going after the millennials. You will find plenty of stuff that he's putting on the web that you won't see on linear television. So people know about that. There is a lot of buzz. There is a lot of community on the web that we can activate, we can moderate, and that creates also new content that people talk about, and which at the end of the day will benefit to us. We are also looking at most of the players on the web, at influencers, people who are going to be your star of tomorrow from the web, that we are also looking at bringing to television, because in those in this world. These are maybe the stars of tomorrow, some of them.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned the going on the web now, streaming, and that's what a lot of young people do, but they're also not very used to paying for content. Most young people feel it ought to be free, and yet your MyTF1 VOD service is steadily gaining share. But is it with that key demographic, or how are you able to convince that segment of the population that this is content worth paying for?
We are looking at fighting against piracy. I think like many countries, France is really heavily involved in fighting against piracy, and we have still progress to be made because we are far less rigorous, I would say, than the US in that line. So it's mobilizing everybody. The GAFA, who have an active role to play on also the fight against piracy, the web internet players, the platform, and of course ourselves, who are trying to protect the content we have by not diluting it too much. So at the end of the day, we have introduced last year for the first time for a mini-series which is currently for sale here in Cannes by TF1, the Bright-Eyed Revenge. It's a 8-episode mini-series of 52 minutes. We put it in a binge-watching position on our replay, on our portal. And for the first time ever, as a free-to-air channel, we made the people pay if they wanted to watch it on a beach way or on episode by episode, which was kind of a premiere. So we will be experiencing those kind of things, because I think in these days, it's all about agility. And how do you change your model? Because we constantly need to reinvent our model.
Yeah, you just mentioned GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, Netflix. A lot of networks just look at them as out and out the enemy, or competitors, to say it perhaps another way. I get the sense that TF1 is still sniffing around a little bit, trying to figure out exactly, are they competitors, are they potential partners? And I know you've had a couple of partnerships where I think TF1 aired some episodes of Marseille, that was a Netflix original, or that you're doing some Facebook Live content, particularly for millennials. So how are you trying to come up with the right model or relationship vis-a-vis these other players?
I would say, and I often say that, but I think it's true. We have mixed feelings. And one of my Harvard professors used to say, mixed feelings is when you see your mother-in-law driving your brand new Ferrari over a cliff. This is mixed feelings. So, we are in competition mode, and, there is definitely the sharing of value, which is at stake. So the other day, we had one of the largest debate. Tonight there will be another one, but we had the one with the top 5 candidates in France.
For the presidential election.
We couldn't agree with Facebook on sharing the value and on the length of the program, so which was a long-form program. It was not on Facebook. We have been doing Facebook Lives, we have been doing plenty of things with Facebook, so that's not the issue, but we couldn't agree on the monetization of such a program. It got on YouTube, and YouTube did 350,000 watch. So, it's constantly what they are willing to share as value, especially on long form, and if we are producing content and high value content, how do they, return and share it with us? So of course, we are very, very small players compared to them, but when it comes to our domestic content, I think this is, the kind of fighting that we need to do, just to have a different approach and a different balance in the relationship. And yet, what you said is true on the other side. We do believe that most of them, as they go into production, like a Netflix, are looking for partnership on a local basis. And this is where Marseille was a good opportunity, and our African and the content team decided to take a bet. We would do the prime time of the first 2 episodes on TF1 and then launch it so that people would go eventually to Netflix to watch the rest of the season. And then with a special deal that if there is a season 2, and apparently there will be a season 2, then we can broadcast season 1 in the entirety. So these are kind of new deals, but where we do believe that, there will be this kind of alignment between us, and there will be some times where they will need local players like us.
Well, Marseille is their first original French language production. Of course, now TF1 is really driving into drama and doing its own production.
Netflix just bought, we run, it's here also, No Second Chance with Harlan Coben, which was one of the first, I think, miniseries in the world which was produced based on a Harlan Coben novel. And Netflix just bought it.
Yeah.
So, and it's 8-episode miniseries, right. 8 or 6.
Well, and you've also acquired Newen, which is a production powerhouse here in France, and I think most people know it for Versailles,
yes.
Which, there's already been 1 season, another season's coming.
Season 2 just started on the Canal.
And 3 is shooting, as you said. But that brings up an interesting question to me still about French dramas and European dramas in general in terms of whether they're at a disadvantage in local language versus English language production. Versailles, to me, is a very strange creature in that you have a French production about French history, but with British actors speaking English. If I could never imagine an American history drama being produced by an American production company with French actors and in French. So is that just another way of seeing that it needs English language to travel, and that French language drama is still a difficult sell these days?
There is definitely, this possibility, and I think, the people at Newen were very, very smart in doing this. Claude Chely, the producer, and Fabrice Larue, who was here, saw the possibility of, interesting the world about such a great history, about those various kings which went, because it's not over yet. We're only at Louis the 13th or 14th. Just to share that, it's a great show. And then if you add some contents, and if you play a little bit with French history, because it's not totally French history, you have a great show, which will be of interest to the rest of the world. But for that, it's true that it's even easier if you have British actors and, and an international cast, which, got sold in 135 countries, so which is amazing. But on the other side, we have series like Profiling, which is a French police series with a French character, with a woman with a psychology is very strong, shot in Paris with beautiful views of Paris, etc., which got sold in 83 countries. Bright-Eyed Revenge, which was shot on the Riviera with young French actress and very good cast, was sold in 54 countries. So it's about, I think, what you see on the Tour de France. When you look, French has plenty of landscaping and interesting history and cities, and then the people. I think there is a seduction of for the history has been that if you ever come to Paris, you feel about the city, but then there are the people, the cafe, the way the people interact, etc., which is always intriguing to the rest of the world.
It feels
even
very
in
French.
Europe, in the US, in Asia.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And these are the characters that maybe in most of our French series, people will see and say, yes, this is going to be different. And, you know, there is some sort of fascination. Then in terms of format, I guess, you know, over the years, finally, the French understood that, you know, 52 minutes was the best format and not 90 minutes. So, you know, there are evolution also where, you know, we got closer to the international market.
When you talk about international sales, certainly for Hollywood, international used to just be the icing on the cake, you know, but now it's an important component right from the get-go in terms of how a project is financed and conceived. French exports of drama have been far less in relation to the amount of money that's been invested in them, but is that international component, at least for the balance sheet of TF1, becoming a more important element?
Not really. I mean, it is critical that we sell it. It's more, I think, to get our content well known across the world, to get interest of actors and, you know, and partnership. The partnership we just did with NBC and RTL, which is called Trinity,
yes.
With a new series called Gone,
yeah.
you know, is a good reflection of that. Trying to partner with international players so that whether it's in the US, whether it's in Germany or in France, you know, we will have this possibility of, and it will be shot in Pittsburgh,
yeah.
So, you know, still American, but yet with some input from us on the procedural side, on many side, which, you know, will give us opportunity of having international content yet, or American content yet, with adapted to us. So it's not so much looking at exporting contents. I think we are more and more competitive. That's really the story those last years. And this is where we are capitalizing, whether it's with Newen or with TF1 Studio. But, you know, let's face it, it has nothing to do with, you know, what the US are exporting to us.
Yeah. Well, picking up on Gone, which is this drama starring Chris Noth, that's the part of the agreement with you and RTL and NBC Universal. To what extent is there the danger that this is essentially just an American show, but with some of the money coming from Europe? Or is there a way to actually universalize it without either diluting it so that you please no one and it becomes bland, but still somehow can appeal to audiences abroad and show that there is something that's European or has a European flavor about it?
I think for mainstream television, if I understood well the industry, and you know, you reminded that I joined only a year ago, but major broadcasters in Europe have been faced with the issue that Hollywood has never produced so many series. However, in terms of quality and in terms of impact, they are less powerful than before because there are so many of them. Most of them are twisted towards cable and, you know, more segmented audiences. And therefore, we are really missing the power of some of the Mentalist, or for France would work very well, Dr. House, etc. Very powerful show. And so it's really about getting still good American series, and we still have quite a few, but because they are less powerful, it's trying to find kind of the best of both worlds. So saying to the show writers, don't make the season 2 so complicated. Don't make, you know, and the fact that if you miss one episode, I mean, this is about procedural, you can't follow the rest, etc., which has been the tendency over the last few years, where, you know, those shows have become so sophisticated and complicated that for us, for our audiences, it doesn't work anymore. And so therefore we need some different content. And hopefully, because we will have our word to say in the production of Trinity, you know, we will balance between the NBC people and ourselves, you know, what we can do.
Yeah. Well, you've also got another agreement in Studio 71, you know, with ProSieben and Mediaset as part of that too. What do you hope to accomplish from that in terms of pushing TF1 beyond just the boundaries of France?
The Studio 71 agreement is really all about digitalization. It's about, you know, given the possibility of our ad sales to have new inventory. And so it's about YouTube channels, and, you know, we joined forces with ProSieben, which we respect a lot in Europe. They had the vision of getting very early on into the digital game. Studio 71 is today the 4th larger MCN in the world. They have 6 billion video views a year, so it's just an amazing weapon and strength, an aggregator of content. And therefore, for us to be part of it is really definitely a plus. And we will be also operating in a partnership with them, the French Studio 71, which we will be launching in September this coming year. And having Mediaset as the Italian partner, gives us kind of a European, a pan-European vision, which I think in the future is interesting, that as European players, we join forces.
Gilles Pélisson, thank you very much for this conversation this afternoon.
Thank you.